welcome to this Lord. Merry Christmas. You join us here today and we're outside somewhere rather famous. This is Westminster Abbey, if you didn't know. And we're going to be talking about an incident that happened here on Christmas Day in 1066. So all I'm going to say is, roll the Christmas titles. So there's been a place of worship here since the 7th century, and it was in around about 1042 that King Edward, who became St Edward the Confessor, started building the Westminster, the abbey that we see today, or start of it seen today. It was rebuilt in the 13th to 16th century, and that's what we see today. But there was an incident that happened on Christmas Day, and that was a coronation, but more of that in a moment. If you do come to see Westminster Abbey, well worth a visit. People freely know I'm not a religious person, but this is a wonderful, wonderful building. Every coronation has been held here since 1066, with the exceptions of Edward V and Edward VIII, both never crowned. It's also, I think there's about 3,300 graves in there. There's about 600 memorials and other stones in there for the great and the good. So it's well worth a visit. And anyway, I'm waffling again. Let me tell you all about William I and his coronation.
William of Normandy, known as William the Conqueror, was born in Falaise in 1027. And he was a son of Robert, Duke of Normandy, and a young girl called Helave. And we all know he invaded England and defeated Harold II at the Battle of Hastings on the 14th of October in 1066. His reign is actually remembered for the compilation of the Domesday Book in 1086, and that recorded all the names of landowners and tenants in England. And he also built many, many castles, including the foundations for Warwick Castle and the Tower of London. We know that his coronation is the first that can be proved to have been held at Westminster Abbey. It's thought that King Harold Godwinson, Harold II, was almost certainly crowned there in the newly consecrated abbey in January of 1066, but there's no specific confirmation from any contemporary source. William's choice of using the abbey, founded by King Edward the Confessor, was probably intended to reinforce his claim to be the rightful successor to Edward. This was despite the nave of the church still being under construction. And the date chosen, Monday the 25th of December, Christmas Day, was imitation of the customary date for the coronations of the Eastern Byzantine emperors and the Western Holy Roman emperors. We do have a fairly detailed description of the ceremony from Guy, the Bishop of Amiens, and his epic poem that was, the English translation is Song of the Battle of Hastings, and that was probably written in around 1067. According to Guy, the ceremony began with a procession from the Palace of Westminster that was also built by Edward the Confessor, and that processed to the Abbey. At the head of the procession was a crucifier, and they were accompanied by chantings. The proceedings were led by the two senior churchmen of England, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Stigand, and the Archbishop of York, Eldred. And it was Eldred who actually officiated the coronation because Stigand had been excommunicated for holding two bishop seats at the same time. So once they'd got inside the church, William was conducted to a raised platform that was described by Guy as a pulpitum, and it was probably located in the centre of the church beneath the central tower. Its intention was to raise the king physically and symbolically above his subjects, and it's been repeated in every coronation since. The ceremony began with Geoffrey asking the Norman nobles in French whether they accepted the new king by your free choice. And that was repeated in English by Eldred to all the Anglo-Saxon nobles who were present. The acclamation was mistaken by the Norman soldiers outside to be a riot, to which they responded by setting fire to nearby houses, and in the chaos, some of the soldiers began to fight the fire, while others went looting. Inside, the coronation continued, and the king and all the bishops prostrated themselves before the high altar, while more chanting was heard. This was followed by the anointing with oils. William then took the coronation oath, in which he promised that he would rule all his people as well as the best of kings before him, if they would be loyal. And now this was a departure from the usual order of the service, the oath preceded the anointing, the switch probably being made to emphasise the sanctity, the oath the king had just taken. The mass continued, and the investiture of the regalia, etc., etc., that we still see parts of in the coronations to this day.
In contrast, an English chronicler called Orderic Vitalis, he later recorded the events slightly differently. He said, "The people who had been rejoicing in the church were thrown into confusion, and the crowds of men and women of every rank and status, compelled to this by this disaster, rushed out of the church. Only the bishops and the clergy, along with the monks, stayed, terrified, in front of the altar, and only just managed to complete the consecration rite over the king, who was trembling violently." There you go. So this admission from Guy's poem, and that probably explains why his poem came to quite an abrupt end. But does your family Christmas end like that? I certainly hope not. Well, there you go. That's what happened on Christmas Day, 1066. Nobody can say we are not current on our videos, are we? Thanks for watching. Do hope you enjoy these videos. If you do, please subscribe. If you want to see what we do outside the videos, have a look at James's channel. That's Last Line Films. Have a look at my website, which is historylord.co.uk. Thanks for watching. Merry Christmas. Have a great New Year.